what I've done now is I've moved the cam to the top of the sprocket so that the retraction plate is fully retracted. I can now access that with a pair of vice grips and lock that onto there, which should then enable me to be able to undo the retaining screw. Now this is going to be under some tension because of the spring loading in there, so I'm doing my best to hold that in place. So we release that pressure on that, and we can see the mechanism is now released, and the pressure is off, and the handle comes off. And I think I now can see the issue that we've got. This part appears to still be intact and be functioning correctly. In the back of the cam there is a square drive. However, on the handle there is a square peg that fits onto there like so, and that square peg is what actually drives the cam. Unfortunately, that square peg has sheared off. This looks like it's some sort of die-cast aluminium, and that peg has sheared off. So that would be the reason why the cam was no longer connected to the handle, and it was the reason why the belts would not release. Why would that happen? I think this probably would be a mechanism that would be entirely reliable under most circumstances. Possibly the material choice of die-cast, maybe a stronger material, but it was adequate under normal circumstances. The issue that we've got with this particular harness is the dust. Lots of dust. You can actually see little parts of material there which have been worn off. It's like a grinding paste. You can see there's like a paste in there. So this has obviously been grinding away in there with the dust. The dust has created a large amount of friction, and as the person is hanging upside down in the buggy trying to get out, the friction has got the better of it, and possibly in their hurry to get out they have applied a larger than average amount of force, which has resulted in the cam shearing off and the buckle is no longer functioning. Right, so I've reassembled the lock with the exception of the front. I haven't cleaned anything, it's just reassembled. And what I've done is I've made up a key which is just this basic tool that goes into the square and is able to turn the handle around. Now when I turn it, it is gritty and it doesn't move particularly freely, but nevertheless it operates with a reasonable degree of ease. So I don't think the presence of the actual dust in there, while it was obviously detrimental to the behaviour of the lock, I don't think it was just the dust. In the end, I think it was that small rock, a little tiny pebble that had worked its way up in there somehow. That must have wedged itself in, and that was what caused the issue. Just to show, in fact, that the buckles will now release, I've got a shoulder strap which I can plug into there. You'll see it locks in. Again, it feels horrible. That is a lap belt which we can push in as well, and you'll see that when we turn this, hopefully these mechanisms should, there we go, they release quite easily. So at the end of the day, the fault appears to have been that in the course of the activity, the small rock has somehow managed to get jammed in there, and obviously with the occupants pushing on the belts trying to get them in, they haven't noticed the small rock. The rock has actually been pushed down inside the housing, and it has stayed down in there, and when they've tried to release it, that small rock has jammed up, and then in order to try and release it, they've put more and more force on it, which has resulted in the shearing off of that square peg. So I don't think it is just a dust issue. It doesn't seem to be related just to the dust, otherwise I wouldn't be able to turn this now as freely as I can, which it is turning quite easily. Not just the dust, I think the presence of the small rock in there jamming the mechanism up, and this was purely as a result of the occupants trying to overcome the jam caused by the rock, rather than any inherent failure in the design or materials of the Schroth harness. So it is instructive, but small rocks can cause big problems. So this appears to be the offending little rock. It went down inside the seatbelt buckle. So you can actually see that it's quite thin. It's sort of flat in one way, and that would have helped it to have got down inside the buckle.